First of all, I'd like to thank the grace of heaven, the virtues of our masters, and the compassion and mercy of the grand predecessors, senior transmitters, lecturers, and temple masters for giving me this opportunity today to talk about today's topic, which is chapter 64, part 2. All right. Okay. So last week, this is a relatively long chapter. Yeah, I think the fourth longest chapter in the classic. And so last week we only finished section 1, right? We finished section 1A and B. We left off, yeah, and we're going to start on phrase number 13, which is section 2A, okay? So I left off with at this phrase, and let's go to the, okay, so this is the overview. We still got like 14 more phrases to go, okay? So it's just section 2 and 3, okay? All right. So, I want to, we finished here, right? We finished here, line 12, phrase 12, okay? We finished here, section 1. All right, and then this is a very, it's a well-known phrase, okay? I mean, it becomes like an idiom even, okay? It's like an idiom, status of an idiom. Actually, this is an idiom too here, okay? This is an idiom, all right? This is also an idiom, okay? All right, but this here too is also like an idiom, all right? Now, I just want to illustrate with the story of the two monks, okay, from Sichuan. Okay, Sichuan is a province in central China. Okay, Sichuan. Okay, this is where we left off. Okay, last week. All right, so this story will kind of illustrate. Okay, illustrate this phrase. Okay, this phrase. All right. Okay. Yeah, and which is one of the key points or key teaching points of this chapter. All right. Okay. Okay. So back a long time ago in ancient China, this is during the ancient days. Okay. All right. Probably, I don't know, 1500 years ago or so. Okay. There were two monks in China from Sichuan province, which is in central China. It's a very mountainous region. Okay. Okay. So these two monks were not from the same branch, if you will, or monastery of Buddhism. Okay. The first monk is a poor monk. I mean, he, by definition, I guess most people would think have this perception of monks as, as poor, right? They give up material things in life in order to pursue, the truth, or cultivation for the rest of their lives, right? And so they give up all material things. It's just like in the tradition of Buddha, Siddhartha, Sakyamuni Buddha, okay, when he founded Buddhism, earlier, okay. But then there's another monk, his other monk. He's a wealthy monk. he comes from a different branch of Buddhism. I mean, even during Buddhist days, they have, yes, there was actually, originally only one order, one, you could say one main branch or one order of practitioners, of monks. But then they split later, even during Buddha's time. Okay, I just FYI, and also even during Buddha's time, he did allow, and this is not initially, but later on. I think after Ananda, I forgot that there's a story behind it, but anyway, Buddha also allowed what we call they're not called monks, but started allowing what we call lay practitioners. L-A-Y, lay practitioner means it doesn't mean non-professional. It just means that people who do not take the monastic vows, okay, like the vows of a monk or the vows of a nun, people who do not take those vows and still can practice, or listen to the teachings of Buddha. Okay, so that's okay. So that it started from there. Okay, but anyway, so hundreds of years later, different branches of Buddhism, of Buddhist monks appeared. So one branch of Buddhist monks allow the monks, quote unquote monks, don't have to give up their material aspect of life, of living. They could still work, they could still do things, live with their wives and children or family or whatever, and still practice. Okay, so that's okay. So that's what the second monk is. He's a wealthy monk. He didn't give up his material, wealth to be a monk. Okay, so that's a different branch, and this is not that uncommon particularly in Asia. Okay, you'll see that in Asia, in Korea, in Taiwan, in Japan, in Southeast Asia. Okay, you're gonna see that. All right, so especially in Taiwan, you can see monks driving Mercedes-Benz, for example. Okay, I mean that's an example. It's kind of like interesting, right? It's an interesting contrast. Anyway, okay, it doesn't matter. That's besides the point. But anyway, the second monk is a wealthy monk. Okay, that's the whole point. Sorry. So one day by chance, these two monks met. I think there was like a gathering of a Buddhist seminar or something, one of the monasteries in Sichuan, and these two monks happened to meet and strike up a conversation. Then the first monk, the poor monk, said to the wealthy monk, a rich monk, said, he's been thinking, after this many years of cultivation, he said that he had one lifelong wish, and that was to be able to make a pilgrimage, to the southern seas, to visit the Guanyin Bodhisattva monastery there. Okay, all right, and that was his lifelong wish, that he would like to pursue that pilgrimage. And he asked the wealthy monk, what does he think of that, of his wish and this idea? And the wealthy monk was also very appreciative. I mean, agree with the poor monk, saying, yeah, I think that's a worthwhile pilgrimage, to undertake. But he said that, but the wealthy monk also reminded the poor monk that, but Sichuan, we're located in central part of China, central part, they're all mountainous, very mountainous, and it's quite a distance away from the ocean, from the coastline of China. Plus, it's further away, also, far, that's how you reach, when you have to go through the coastline, and then you can take a boat and sail to the southern ocean of, the southern sea. That's where the Bodhisattva Guanyin was born. Okay. Anyway, so he said, it's a long distance, and it's not going to be an easy trip. And so, but so you got to plan for this, so do you have any plans? How are you going to get there? So the poor monk responded by saying, well, I don't have anything, but I'll just take my begging bowl and my own 2 feet, and I can just walk towards the southern sea. And so the rich monk saying, the wealthy monk, that's kind of naive, it's not that easy. Okay, and it's you got to plan for a lot of things. Okay, there could be there's no clear roads and everything. There's no road. Remember, this is in ancient China, right? During ancient times, and there are huge lot of mountains and everything, and there are no maps and everything. So it's going to take some time and some planning, and you got to prepare for a lot of potential contingencies, etc. And as for himself, he said, I'm thinking of, since we're inland, but there's the river, the Yangtze River flows through Sichuan province. I have to probably charter a boat, sail down the river to the coastline, and then sail from the coastline all the way down to the southern sea. So it's going to take some undertaking and lots of planning. So I don't know about you, but you got to have a better plan than just your own 2 feet. Now, upon hearing this, the poor monk still wasn't discouraged. Okay, so he decided that he remained silent. He didn't respond, but he decided that he'll let his actions do the talking for him. So the very next day after they parted ways, the 2 monks parted ways, he took his begging bowl as he had said to the rich monk, and with his own 2 feet, he set out for the towards the direction of the southern seas. Now, back then in those days, there are no roads, poor maps if any, and so it took him, a long time with encountering numerous difficulties and countless obstacles, and the path, or the route that he took wasn't how can I say, it wasn't a well-traveled route, because it's through numerous mountains, mountain passes, valleys, gorges, etc., before he could reach the ocean, the coastline, and then from there he would walk along the coastline all the way down to the southern sea. Okay, so it took him about a year to walk all the way, from Sichuan all the way to the Southern Sea. So once he arrived at the Southern Sea coast, where the Guanyin, Bodhisattva monasteries, temples were there, he basked in the marvelous you can say Buddhist community down there, and participated in their activities and visited all the various temples and monasteries, and also discussed with the local community, Buddhist community down there, all the various sutras. And he also basked in the glow, you can say the glow of the Bodhisattva Guanyin's compassion and teachings down there. And the local community also presented to him as a gift, since he was such a faraway visitor, with the copies of the Guanyin sutras. Okay, and so he was extremely pleased and very happy. And upon fulfilling his lifelong wish, right, he then decided, after a few weeks, he decided to return back to China. Now, on the return trip, even though he already now know most of the route, it was still difficult. Okay, it was still difficult since he's just walking. He's walking, and he endured just as many hardships, even though it may it's not something new. Okay, even though, and he also encountered hunger too, because there are times when people did not give him alms. Okay, so anyway, but after still numerous difficulties and obstacles, he made it back to Sichuan province after about a year or so. Okay, about a year. So the total trip, his pilgrimage, took about a little over 2 years. Okay, so once when he arrived back at Sichuan, he once again he decided to visit this wealthy monk, who he had talked to 2 years ago, roughly. Okay, so he visited the wealthy monk, and he presented the wealthy monk with a copy of the Guanyin Sutra, okay, Guanyin Sutras, and the wealthy monk, a wave of emotions and feelings, mixed feelings, hit the wealthy monk all at once. First, he felt very humbled in the presence of this poor monk, in being able to achieve his lifelong wish of taking that pilgrimage to the Bodhisattva Guanyin Southern Sea, just with his own 2 feet. okay, because he didn't think that this poor monk could do it, okay. And the other feeling was he was had a great sense of regret to this wealthy monk, because he now realized that after 2+ years, over 2 years of time, he still did not even take the first step towards that pilgrimage. He's still in the planning phase. He's still planning out how to prepare for the trip, taking a boat, et cetera, down there. Okay, so he had that really great sense of regret, that saying, wow, he almost wasted nearly almost two plus years of time, whereas this poor monk was able to achieve it, okay. And then lastly, and most of all, he had this feeling of great admiration for this poor monk that he could not express in words. Okay, so end of story. I just abbreviated. I mean, it's only anyway. Okay, the whole point of the story is to illustrate that. Illustrate. There are a couple. I should have put in another slide, but just too late. To illustrate, sorry, where's my mouse? Okay, section 2, 1A, 1B. Okay, that like the poor monk. Okay, he started out, even though he was poor, he had no means to charter a boat or whatever, okay, on that pilgrimage, but yet he just set out with his 2 feet, right? So a journey of 1,000 miles, right, begins from beneath his feet, right, from where he stood, right? Okay, and it means your achievement. Now remember, section B, 1B is talking about achievements, right? Achievements of great achievements that has very humble beginnings. Okay, so it's a small steps. Okay, like a giant tree started out as a tiny little sapling, right? A great tower, a tall tower, started out just from a mound of earth, right? So same idea. Okay, so that's the idea of great achievements can only not I won't say can only, but usually, or most likely, almost all the time, you can say all the time, started out with tiny achievements or tiny accomplishments, right? Okay, so that's a lesson for us as cultivators, is that we have the ultimate achievement, right? Ultimate achievement, right? Okay, Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, right? That's the ultimate achievement. But you don't do that, you don't achieve that, in 1 second, right? Okay, even for Buddha, yes, he achieved it in 1 lifetime, but then Buddha also said, it was previous, countless lifetimes that led him, or that resulted in his final lifetime to be able to achieve, right, Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. So take many steps. Okay, so that's the idea. Okay, okay, so that's the first aspect, a part of this story. Okay, the second aspect, the second component, if you will, or teaching point of the story, is that no matter how big or how long the journey, or how big the achievement is, you have to start. You just have to start it. You just have to take the first step. Just start. Don't procrastinate. And this kind of is a connection to chapter 63, the previous chapter, which we'll let's see. Let's see, chapter 63 here. Here's the outline for chapter 63 without difficulty. It's more on section 2, okay? Section 2 right here. Okay.
Mr. Kai, we can't see.
You can't see? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I have to share again. Let's see. How do I do this? Okay, hold on. Let's share again. It's here. Okay, hold on. This, and this. Wait a minute. This. Oh, this. Oh, wait. Okay, this. Oh, man. Okay, hold on. Okay, now can you see? Section. Okay, this is
Yes.
chapter 63. Okay, chapter 63, section 2, right? he said, right, plan difficult tasks through the simplest tasks, right? Achieve lifetime through the smallest difficult tasks must be handled through, so the must be handled. Okay, so basically just means that, you just take one small step at a time, or do one simple thing at a time. Okay, that's how you can achieve the large tasks or the difficult task of the world. Okay, all right, so let's see, let's go back. Okay, wait. Can you guys see this again? Hold on. Darn. Okay, let's see. 64A, click, then click. Okay. All right. Okay. So the second teaching point is that on the story of the blind is that's why the wealthy monk felt a sense of regret. Remember, that he wasted two plus years of his life, still hasn't taken the first step towards that pilgrimage. All right, he's still planning. He's still in the planning stage. Okay, so you can say, I don't want to say he procrastinated, but the lesson for us is as cultivators is that, start early. We should not procrastinate. We should have started yesterday. Okay, all right. It's never too early to start. Okay, in our journey of cultivation, right? With respect to cultivation. All right. So there is the notion of, of small steps, right? That's just like the poor monk. He took once, he just with his 2 feet, just made the small steps, towards the walking towards the southern sea. Okay, and in spite of difficulties, obstacles, etc., that he encountered along the way, he relied on his what? Faith, or you can say persistence and faith. Okay, that's what we have to do in our cultivation, right? Okay, just like Buddha, right? When he had the faith and the persistence to continue in spite of, it's unknown, it's uncharted territory, right? In those days, like in his days, right? Nobody, gave Buddha a map, a roadmap saying, oh yeah, Buddha, if you want to achieve, Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, here's what you do, step 1 through 10 or whatever. Okay, here's the guidebook, right? Today we are extremely fortunate because we have all these teachings left over, and also you can say biographies or testimonies of, these previous Tao masters, sages who've achieved, the ultimate goal. And so today we are, we have roadmaps, we have the path that's already, laid out by the previous, cultivators, Tao cultivators, who became Tao masters, sages, etc., became enlightened. So today's different. Today we are really fortunate. Okay, but in those days, in the ancient days, there are no roadmaps. There's no guidebooks. Okay. Anyway, so the key is, 2 things: 1 step at a time. Okay, 1 step, small step at a time. That's okay, because the greatest achievement is done. It comes about from those small steps, small achievements. Right. Chapter 63. Okay. Then, but you have to keep it up. You have to, steady does it, right? Just like the tortoise and the rabbit, right? The turtle, the slow turtle. Yeah, he's slow, fine. But he was determined, he has persistence or perseverance, right? In spite of all the, odds, difficulties, obstacles, whatever. Okay. You just continue to persevere, to persist. And that's the key. That will, lead you to your ultimate goal, just like Buddha did, right? His persistence, right? His perseverance, his faith, right? Okay, so that's why. All right, so that's two key teaching points of that story of the 2 monks. Okay, sorry I took so long. I'm gonna go through this very quick. Okay, so the next, so we're in section 2. Section 2 now. All right. Okay. If you can see. Okay. So we're on phrase 13. Okay. So we're on phrase 13 now. Okay. And we're going to go through very quickly. All right. All right. Phrase 2. Okay. So, all right. So, basic meaning of the line is sorry. The line says, the one who meddles will fail it. The one who grasps will lose it. Okay, well, what is it? Okay, what is it? Okay, it is basically the Tao. Okay, or okay, so basic meaning is that it also well, to the high level means Tao. The red means just whatever things that you're trying to achieve. Okay, all right. So two levels. Okay, so the meddler will fail at whatever they meddle in. It means whatever things they try to meddle or interfere with. Okay, those who interfere with the affairs of others will fail. All right. So how is this? How is this so? Okay, how is this connected to the previous lines? In section 1, right? What does this have to do about meddling? Meddling in the affairs of others or whatever, or has to do with section 1, which deals about what achieving and stuff like that, right? Or plan about the virtue of the early and the small. That's what section 1A and B is about. Okay, so there's some reasons. Okay, so someone who interferes or meddles in other people's business is not minding his own, right? Yeah, right. You're busybody, right? You tend to mind other people's business rather than your own. So by not paying attention to the little problems in life, they will later become big problems. That's one reason why they fail. Okay. Second reason is being meddlesome is a very definite way to disrupt the peace and bring about personal conflict. Okay, right? By interfering, right? Okay, you bring about friction, right? Okay, conflict. So rather than to keep things from beginning chaotic, the interference would just do the opposite, right? You stir up the pot even more, right? Okay, so 3, by spending too much time focusing on what others are doing, that's the meddling, you are then wasting time. So you end up not having enough time to make small incremental progress on your own goals. So you never reach your own destination. That's another reason. So for the meddler, that's what happens. What the results of meddling is, you have big problems plus chaos plus lack of meaningful progress. That all leads to failure. Okay. Now the additional meaning of those who grasp it will lose it means that they're grasping, those who are attached, that's the negative connotation, or obsessed will lose what they're attached to. Okay, so what are the reasons for this? Why this always seems the case that we say, hey, if you are attached to something, how will you lose it? Right? Okay, so some reasons. One reason is those who grasp are desperate. That's the reason why they grasp. Okay, they don't let go. Okay, because they're desperate, and desperation rarely brings positive results. Okay, so that's one thing to keep in mind. Okay, so when you want something too much, you have a tendency to trip over yourself and sabotage your own chances. Okay, that's another problem. You become too obsessed. Okay, and that obsession will lead you to lose caution, etc., right? It will sway or twist your judgment, etc. Okay, so that's how. All right. Okay. Third reason is you end up chasing things nonstop, right? When you become attached to something, right? You become obsessed with it. You can't let it go, and you want more, and so you end up chasing things nonstop. You cling to more and more, never satisfied, and thus cannot hold on to everything. That's the problem. Okay, so for one who grabs, it means they're desperate, they're self-sabotage, and constant chasing or clinging. That means you'll still lose in the end. Okay, that leads to loss. All right. So the deeper meaning of this, of Wade's one who acts, means those who act without contrivance. Oh, sorry, with contrivance, except agenda. Okay, it just means your way. That means you have an agenda, a contrivance, okay, an intent. All right, okay. The higher meaning of those who are attached, in the sense that it's a negative sense, because those who are clinging, controlling, domineering, fixated, they manipulate, they're manipulative, they're possessive, they refuse to let go. This is different from the attachment now to loved ones, family, children, goodness, as long as they're not in the extreme. Okay, so what he's saying here, those who grasp Okay, he's not talking about those who love their family, unless it's in the extreme. Okay, or love of others, etc. Okay, he's just talking about those who are attached in a negative sense, meaning they're domineering, controlling, etc. Okay, so the implication is to meddle is if we act on anything with intentions or contrivance, expectations or conditions, agendas, which are contrary to the heaven's will, okay, to the Tao, then whatever we do will fail. To grasp means those who are attached or obsessed. They will lose all they possess, okay? So all our actions must conform to the true principles of the Tao. This is to encourage us to follow the true principles. Do not meddle or become obsessed with the affairs of others, but focus on your own small incremental progress instead, and not so much on the business of others, all right? Okay, so now we go to, let's see. So now we go to the second half of section 2A, okay? Therefore, sages, okay, therefore sages do not meddle, thus do not fail, do not grasp and thus do not lose. Okay, so what he's saying, okay, on the external level, sages do not try to interfere with actions contrary to the Tao, so they do not fail. They do not try too hard to grasp things, so they do not lose anything. Okay, because meddling leads to failures, sages act without meddling, so sages do not fail. Okay, now because attachments lead to loss, sages act with non-attached actions, so sages do not lose. That's chapter 39, right? 38, sorry, chapter 41, right? We talk about, 30, yeah, 41, chapter 41, all right? Okay, so instead of trying too hard to grasp something, it's like clenching a fist and trying to grasp water. You end up with little or no water. So instead of, cupping the water because you want to grasp, you're so, possessive, you clench your fist. I don't know if you can grab any water that way, but anyway, okay. All right, okay, what am I doing here? Okay. Oops. Okay. All right, where am I? Okay, yeah, okay. So further understanding, sorry, not further. Deeper understanding is to act. That's this word, to act. Okay, in this context means attached action. That means you have action with contrivance, intention, agenda, or conditions to interfere or meddle. Where wu-wei, that means non-attached actions, non-conditioned action without interference or meddle. Does not mean to do nothing, okay, or non-action. Right? Now, there's a higher level meaning, which is on the internal aspect, okay? And that is to be non-attached is to naturally manifest from our Buddha nature essence. That is the natural state of the Tao, okay, of our Buddha nature, all right? So sages are wise because they observe people, note their positive and negative results in life, okay, and extract principles of the Tao on what to do and what not to do. Because meddling leads to failure, acting without interference leads to success. Because attachments lead to loss, acting without attachments lead to no loss, okay? So deeper understanding is do not meddle or interfere means our Buddha nature or sages is non-conditioned, non-attrived, okay? Non-contrived. So do not grasp means our Buddha nature or the sage have no attachments, okay? So the key point is all sages all act without contrivance, intention, agendas, or conditions. That's what our Buddha nature is like, okay? They conform to the true principles of Tao. They act in accordance with their Buddha nature. They act in accordance to their conscience. Thus it is non-conditioned or without attachment. Because sages manifest their actions from their Buddha nature, they do not fail, nor do they lose anything. Okay, so let's go to section 2B, okay? So people in the handling of affairs often come close to completing them and fail. If they are as careful in the end as the beginning, then they would not fail them. Okay, so this is the next aspect. First we talk about grasping, right? Grasping and meddling. Okay, now he's saying that's one part. The second part is when we handle, when people are doing things or handling things, why is it that a lot of times most people would come close to achieving it, but yet in the end fail. Okay, so this is a cautionary note. Okay, just that allows us, remind us that you have to. Well, part of this has to do with persistence, or more specific is consistency. He's reminding us to be consistent in our endeavors from beginning to the end, not just for 80-90% of the time, but all the way 100%. All right. Okay. So let's see. Let's go to the basic meaning. Is that first line is quite often we start with something right. We do something correct. Okay. And for a while, it seems like nothing can go wrong. But for some reason, somehow, some way, we're not able to bring it to a successful completion. Okay. And so this is a great observation about human nature. On many matters, we tend to start off well, but after a while, as we're nearing the end, we tend to give up, right? So we lack that perseverance and consistency. Okay. So there are some reasons why that is. So first, attachments, right? It causes us to cling to something that is detrimental or contrary to our progress. Second, inconsistency. Lack of consistency between words and actions leads to frustration, problems, etc. And third, lack of faith or self-confidence, giving up after encountering an obstacle. And fourth, lack of perseverance due to lack of faith. And so fourth, you can say derives from the third. Okay, all right. For the third point. Okay, so we do not have the persistence to continue or finish successfully. So these are the main reasons why most of us fail in the very end. Okay, we may start out great. Okay, you may start out great, yeah, but then somehow, some way, we fail at the end, and these are the reasons. Okay, all right. Okay, so further understanding is. First line is that on most of our dealings with matters, we may be full of drive, enthusiasm, and energy at first. But after a period of time, for some reason, we lose that drive and energy. So we end up not completing them properly. This is mainly due to our attachments, inconsistency, and our lack of self-confidence and perseverance. Okay, that's the reason. Okay. All right. So let's go to the second line, which has to do with if they are careful in the end as the beginning, then they should not fail them. Okay, so basic meaning of the second line is be as careful toward the end as in the beginning. Then one can bring about successful, right? So most of us, whenever we are, trying to do something, right? Whatever, handling something, we usually are very careful at the beginning. That's true, right? I mean, for most part, right? Because if you're not careful in the beginning, then you're not going to get started anyway, right? So we are very careful. We plan out. We do make a lot of preparations and all that stuff. But somehow towards the end, we lose that. Okay. So anyway, so that's another observation of human nature. So there's a tendency for people to be inconsistent. And the reason for that is because we're inconsistent and we don't persevere in most aspects of life. So if they were initially cautious, later they become incautious. I should be uncautious, right? Uncautious. Is there such a word? Uncautious? Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. Okay. Let's, okay. So anyway, okay. So they end up failing to complete something. All right. So thus people need to be consistent or be constant in every aspect of life. The primary motivation for Tao cultivators is that it is in accordance with the Tao to be constant. Remember, the Tao is constant. Constancy is called the Tao, right? It's called Tao. Okay, so that we have to remind ourselves. Okay, we have to be constant, and that's constancy, or be consistent. Okay, that's the Tao. Right now, the result is that by having consistency or constancy, they naturally succeed in life without specifically trying to succeed. Okay, so that's the wu-wei aspect. Okay, the non-attached or non-conditioned aspect. Okay, so here are some examples. Always practice what you preach. Okay, that's you walk the talk. Okay, so being consistent with words and action. They do this because they're not hypocrites. The result is that they become naturally respected. Okay, so walk the talk. All right, so also always be true, always be yourself and only yourself. Be true or honest, sincere to yourself. They do this because they are not two-faced, okay? Hypocrites, okay? The result is that they win people's trust, okay? You know, and above all, be true to thine self, right? Okay. All right. So always, and another reason is always be willing to, another example is always be willing to do what you ask others to do. Yeah. They naturally become great leaders when they have to lead. See, you know, a lot of times when we say, oh, you know, we're in a, you know, elevated, you know, higher position. So therefore we don't have to do the work. We just, you know, order people to do the work. You know, that's not the best leadership. Okay. No, in chapter 66, I believe, we'll talk about that a little bit. Okay. So, all right. Our previous chapter, we talked about that too. Okay. So, but if you can do the work, the same work that you ask others to do, right? Then you naturally will be a great leader because you can do the work that you ask of other people. All right. So that's how you, okay, when it's time to lead. All right. So lastly, in all matters, be consistently enthused, energetic, and cautious from beginning to end. They naturally bring their early success to country. Remember chapter 63, without difficulty, right? Let's look at chapter 63 at the, let's see, can you guys see it? Okay. Can you guys see it?
No.
No? Okay, hold on. Shoot, why is that? Okay. All right, chapter 63 at the very end, right? Phrases 16 and 17. Therefore, sages regard things as if difficult, so they never encounter difficulties all through life. Same idea. So that means, you know, and also, you know, it has to do, that the contrary is here. The 14, actually 14, 15. Okay, they're like a couplet. Okay, they the one. Okay, one is the opposite of the other. Okay, or whatever. Okay, all right. Okay, so you know, even though they said we talk about encounter, it just means that sages are cautious. They take, you know, they treat everything as serious. Okay, understand? All right. So by doing that, where's 64, 63A, 63, 64. Huh. Okay. Okay. Now let's go. Okay. So you guys can see now. So we have to be consistent. Okay. We always have to be cautious from beginning to end, not just at the beginning. Okay. So oftentimes in handling matters, people tend not to be able to finish as well as when they started. This is due mainly to attachments, inconsistency, lack of faith, and perseverance, right? The story of the toolbox, same idea, okay? So in observing the world, we can see many instances of this trend. To be successful at the end as you are at the beginning is relatively rare. More often than not, people have early success and they fail to follow up with subsequent successes. So, you know, you have one-hit wonders, et cetera, all right, okay? I mean, it's not easy, okay? All right, so in handling matters, we must not fall into the tendency of giving up before their completion. We need to understand the reasons for this tendency by being unattached, consistent, and having faith or self-confidence and persistence, and being cautious from the beginning to the end. That is the challenge. That is the secret. So let's do summary chart part 2. I think this is the end. Okay, the last summary. Ooh. Yeah, summary. Okay, so here it is. Okay, so what's the best way to live? Okay, going to the section. Okay, so 1, learn from the whole world. Look at how people hurt themselves fighting over things, you know, contention. Chapter 66, we'll talk about that. 65, 60, 66, 66, 67. Okay, look at how they make a mess by being busybodies. That's to meddle, right? Meddling. So the lessons are obvious, right? We have, you know, we shouldn't contend and we should try not to meddle. Okay, all right. Now, the virtue of the earlier, okay, sooner rather than later. Okay, start early. So start early in your day, in your planning, in your projects, on everything, okay, on our journey of cultivation, right? Start early. Start the journey. You know, don't procrastinate. Don't put it off. Take that first step on another. So persistence, all right? So So early and then persistence and consistency, okay? So there is genius in taking the initiative. Don't put off, right? Don't put off things, okay? Because our time here in this world has limitations, right? So we should not procrastinate and put things off, right? We should what? Strike the iron when it's hot, right? Seize the day, seize the moment, etc., right? Okay. All right. Okay. So lastly, let go. Do not be possessive. Do not become attached, right? Okay. So focus on yourself. Do not meddle in other people's affairs and let others walk their own path. All right. They have their own paths to walk. You have your own. All right. So we should not meddle, should not, well, yeah, shouldn't meddle also from here, okay? All right. So, but the key is you focus on ourselves, and we focus on ourselves, on our own path, right? Just like the poor monk. Okay, let's go back. What this is appendix 2 summary. No, this is 2, right? Part 2. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So now we are in section 3, last section. Okay, last section. All right. Okay, we've got the last 5, 6 phrases. Okay. All right. So therefore, sages desire not to desire, do not value goods that are different, that are difficult to acquire. Okay. So we're in section 3 now, right? Yes, section 3. Okay. What does that mean? Okay. So now we're in the conclusion. Okay. We're in the last. So, all right. So here's the thing. Its basic meaning of the first phrase is, okay, sages want to not want so much, not to be overwhelmed by greed, okay? So when we say this desire, not to desire, okay? So what does that mean? That's like an oxymoron, right? Isn't that a desire too, right? Desiring not to desire, right? Okay, what Lao Tzu's meaning is that you don't want to be excess. You don't want to, you can have some desires, okay? You know, your desire to do good, that's a good desire, right? And we say that's a good desire, okay? All right. I mean, you know, because we're not yet enlightened beings, yeah? Like we're not fully enlightened like a Buddha, right? Buddha has no desires, right? We say it's just natural, because the reason why we say Buddhas or enlightened beings have no desires is because they reflect the Tao, you know, just naturally, the Tao naturally does its thing, right? Naturally, naturally nurtures the world, right? Creates the universe, nurtures the world, etc., right? So the Buddhists do this, reflect that, and they do that naturally. So there's no desire, no intent to say, oh, I want to help to save the world, so therefore I do this, right? So that's there's a what call that a progression, right? There's a cause and an effect, right? A to B, right? No, Tao just naturally does that. So that's the highest level. But as humans, we cannot say we have no desires, 100% no desires. Okay. The key is not to be excessive. You can have some good desires, desires to help people. That's fine. But do not make it as an excess. And also, gradually, if you, how can I say, if you do it without intentions, without agenda, right, or non-contrived, then it becomes natural. Then that becomes truly a reflection of your Buddha nature, okay, or of your of the Tao, okay, essentially. All right, okay. So what it means is that another understanding is that sages want to moderate their desires to what? Follow the path of moderation. Okay, so I think chapter 67 will also talk about that. Okay, or 66 definitely. Okay, so they want simplicity. Sages want that. The bare necessities of life, contentment, and having genuine joy and gratitude with what they have. Okay, that's the key. That's what the desire, not to desire means. Okay, not. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. So the further understanding is it is not all about, it's not about eliminating all desires. Okay. so that you have zero desires, okay, which is not possible as a human being living amongst society, right? It's not really possible. I mean, it's very difficult. I mean, even Buddha understood that, okay? So, when he's living in the, amongst humans. I mean, yes, among ascetics, out in the boondocks, yeah, even then, it's you can't get him. He has to eat, right? You still have to eat, so you have the desire to eat. I guess. I mean, you want to eat something, okay? But the key is not to have excessive desires. Okay, that's the main thing. Okay, that's the key thing. All right. So the second half of the phrase is, okay, do not value goods that are difficult to acquire. All right. So what it means is that sages do not regard those difficult to acquire things as important. Okay. Okay. So like things like, wealth, gold, precious things. Okay. So, or precious material things. Sages do not value goods that are hard to acquire, whereas most people value them greatly and will go to great lengths to acquire them, right? Right? That's human nature, right? That's most of us. Sages do not value rare things because they are what people desire the most. Okay, because so they go opposite, right? They're the opposite. So the pursuit of difficult to acquire things, and the reason for why is because the pursuit of difficult to acquire things leads to incessant desires, which leads to greed, which leads to more desires, and so on. So it's a vicious cycle, a never-ending cycle of desires and greed, which can become difficult to moderate. Thus, sages do not desire difficult to acquire things. Understand? So sages see the whole thing, the picture. They understand that if we pursue things that are difficult to acquire, it will lead into this vicious cycle. And that defeats, right? That defeats the first line, I mean, the previous line, which is sages desire not to desire. That defeats the whole notion of trying to moderate our desires, right? Okay, so the whole goal, right? That's the whole goal. So at the intermediate level is the desires of sages are different from ordinary people. That's the higher level understanding of, yeah, sages have desires, but their desires are different from ordinary people. So what sages desire are Tao virtues, such as morality, ethics, benevolence, and righteousness. So all the difficult to acquire goods are material objects that do not last and what people desire the most. Sages do not like, because sages understand these, even though they're difficult to acquire, but they do not last. Okay, so that's why. All right. So the higher level, the ultimate level, is that our Buddha nature essence, that's what the sages represent, right? That's the internal side, okay? Have no desires because our Buddha nature is already self-sufficient, right? And has no need for desires, no need to acquire difficult to acquire things because they have no such desires to do so, right? There's no need, right? So the implication is we should emulate the desires of sages. At the ultimate level is the Buddha nature, okay, which is to nurture our virtuous conducts. This is called to desire not to desire and be content with and appreciate what we already have. Okay, so the key is that at the intermediate level is sages desire not to desire is about one, having enough, okay, sufficiency. Two, fully utilizing what you have, that's no waste, okay. Three, appreciating what you have, that's cherishing what you already have. Four, being happy and know it. Okay, that's being contentment, the satisfaction of contentment. And five, sharing that happiness, that you are unselfish, you're selfless. Okay, all right. So the ultimate level, though, is that our Buddha nature essence is unperturbed and that's undisturbed or not influenced by material things, right? And already self-sufficient, so has no desires, no need to acquire material things. Okay, now we are at the last two lines, last two sentences. Okay, so here it is. They learn to unlearn and redeem all the faults of multitudes, whereby to assist or to supplement or assist or complement the nature of all things and without daring to meddle. Okay, all right. So the basic meaning is that on the external side, sages learn to unlearn what most people in society believe. What's that belief? What society is teaching us, right? The belief is that more material possessions you have, the better you are. Now, I think in economics, they call it, that's called normative economics, okay? Then there's the positive side. That's called the positive economics too. Okay. Normative means that's normal. That's a normal thing. What most people, conventional wisdom, right? Says the more you have, the better you are, right? The better off you are, right? That's the conventional wisdom, right? Okay. Okay. All right. The more material wealth, fame, and power, the latest must be the greatest society. Okay, so this is what society teaches us. So what normative economics teaches. Okay, is that the more you have, the better you are, the more material wealth, the more fame, the more power, the latest must be the greatest. That's what the conventional wisdom says. Okay, that's what sages are trying to go against, unlearn that. Okay. All right, so that's what makes you a sage, all right, if you could unlearn that, okay? So this all has to do with greed and society's attitude towards greed. Society is expecting all of us to be materially successful, okay? So such as living in a big mansion, drive a fancy car, wear expensive clothes and jewelry, eat gourmet food, etc., right? They say these are called material signs of success, right? That's how society defines success. Right? Hey, if you're successful, you're gonna have a big mansion, you drive fancy cars, wear expensive clothes and jewelry, et cetera, eat gourmet food, right? I mean, that's the society's definition of success, right? And normative economics. Okay. Now, these are the expectations of society's definition of success. These are the ideas perpetuated by society. This is what sages learn to unlearn. What sages learn are different than what ordinary people learn. So that's the greatest challenge. So sages go against this conventional social, we can say social expectation or definition of success. All right. So sages, that's what they learn to unlearn. This is what sages are learning to unlearn. Okay. All right. So sages' additional meaning is that okay. All right. Sages do not necessarily follow what is conventional. They observed and concluded that rather than pursue material things as taught by society or as championed by society, they would, or emphasized by society, they would pursue their own personal ideals, which are not necessarily based on material things. All right. So, right, in chapter 19, okay, in sagacity, abandon knowledge. The people benefit 100 times. Okay, so I don't want to get into there, but chapter 19 we talk about that. All right, okay, all right. So further understanding is now these are all external. Okay, now let's talk about the internal aspect. Okay, internal aspect is our Buddha nature has no need to learn from the material world because it is the Buddha nature. It's the creator of the phenomenal world. So it does not rely on knowledge of the physical world. So we must learn to not learn knowledge so our Buddha nature can manifest itself. Okay, so that means we don't rely on knowledge alone. But that's what conventional wisdom teaches us, right? All our education, what society values, just saying, hey, knowledge, right? And on chapter 67, we'll talk about that, okay, a little bit. 66, 67, those two are connected, okay? So recall chapter 20, cease learning, no more worries, right? That's the first line, chapter 20, right? Okay, so it's similar to the Buddha's teaching of non-mind, non-conditioned, non-conscious mind is Buddha. Okay, so that, all right, it's similar, it's parallel. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but it's parallel. Okay, all right. So that's what sages are trying to unlearn. Okay, sages do not follow the conventional wisdom or as taught in terms of acquiring material wealth. Okay, so that's what they try to learn. Okay, now we're talking about the second. Is it the second phrase? Yeah, it's the second one, two. Yeah, second phrase of the third line. Sorry, second phrase of the first line is here. Is where is it? Basic meaning is on the second phrase. Okay, on the external level, it is very difficult to change people and their behaviors. So sages do not try to change people. When people are ready to change, they will change their own lives by themselves with the help of the guidance of sages. Okay, that's what it means here, sorry, right here. I think that, no, sorry, right here. Redeem, okay, redeeming the faults of the multitudes. Okay, that's the second phrase of the first line. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. Okay, all right, here, all right. So another meaning of that phrase is that even when people suffer for their false beliefs or misguided beliefs, they will still cling to them and never let go. Okay, so that's where the possessiveness or the obsession, the clinging, the attachment comes about. Okay, or results in. Sages realize the only way to redeem humanity, we say redeem, it's like to save or the hope, hope for humanity, okay, to turn around, is to work on yourself, to change oneself and to live life so well that other people will notice and want to do the same. Okay, so that's why sages do not try to preach to the others and force their thinking on people, because that's not going to work. Okay, because that's going to lead to contention, number one. Okay, that's going to lead to contention, and sages don't like to contend, right? Okay, that'll lead to debates, etc., right? Okay, that's the normal human way. Okay, so sages understood that's not going to work, or that there are downsides to that. So therefore, they focus on changing themselves, sages. Okay, and live life so well that people will notice, say, hey, how come you can do this so well, or how come, et cetera, right? Then they'll want that. So by not preaching or forcing their ideas, sages by not preaching or forcing their ideas on other people, but just focusing on changing their own lives and living their lives so well, then people will naturally look at sages and say, hey, how come you're so better off? Or how come you're so successful? Then they will naturally, of their own accord, people will then follow you, or at least listen to you, okay, or follow to the sages' teachings or ideas. Okay, all right. So the additional meaning, second phase, is that sages and Tao cultivators do not waste money, but also do not fight other people over material things. For the sages and Tao cultivators, it is enough for them to just follow the Tao themselves, and they do not need to preach to other people to change them. Okay, so for the understand, that's external. The internal is this: is that by allowing our Buddha nature, that's the sage, right? Our internal sage, to direct our lives and to follow it, means our thoughts, that's the people, will not have fault and thus not incur karma. All right. Okay, so let's go to the third phrase, which is the first phrase of the second sentence. On the external level, sages, okay, so what that phrase, what that line is, whereby to supplement, assist, or complement the nature of all things. Okay, that's what it means. So sages supplement the world, or supplement the world by being content, like the nature of all things. You can say assist, okay, supplement, assist the world. In nature, that is, in nature, all the mirror things just take what they need to survive without hoarding resources and denying them to others, right? That's why sages are content with what they have. They don't need to pursue, acquire more material things, right? They just have the things that they need to survive. That's it. Just like animals, in the wild, in nature, right? Same idea, all right? Okay, so another meaning is that, yes, in nature, all living things do compete for resources to survive. That is true, okay? That is true. But unlike humans, okay, humans are the only exception. They take just enough to survive and not more. Okay, that's the thing, right? Even the carnivorous animals, lions, tigers, etc. They only kill enough just to survive. They don't kill additional, right? They don't kill more than what they can, right? Survive. Okay, so during lean times, living things do fight over resources, but just to get by, right? They do not hoard. See, humans hoard. That's the difference, okay? So sages, number two, sages assist the natural development of all things to follow the example of nature. Okay, so that's how sages supplement nature or assist nature. Okay, they want to show, they assist nature by just following the example of nature. Okay, so Third phrase, additional phrase is how the living things in nature compete to survive is different than the competitions between humans. Okay, there's a big difference. We have elevated the competition for survival and greed to an art where not only do we fight for resources to survive, and then also for things that we do not need to survive. That's the problem. That's where we have, gone, you say, to the extreme. Okay, so where if someone wants those things that are not necessary for survival, we also want them. Now that is contrary to nature and to the Tao. Okay, that's where we have kind of like, gone off the wrong path. Okay, gone off to the wrong path. That's where we have, that's what leads to excess. Okay. All right. So now here's the internal part. Okay, internal part is this. It's our Buddha nature, sage, right? Internal sage is already self-sufficient and does not need to compete with others over things. Okay. You can say with thoughts or over things, okay, with desires or that. So this is the reflection of the true self of Tao, the match to its nature, the true reflection of nature, to be at one with the Tao. Okay, so remember second section of chapter 39, attain oneness. Okay, well, it's in the appendix, but okay, so I don't want to go there. Okay, all right. So the last phrase on the external side, what's the last phrase? The last phrase says, and without daring to meddle. Okay, so on the external level, sages and Tao cultivators do not meddle with the frenzy and madness of society. Okay, sages do not try to interfere. Okay, all right. So by not participating, sages quietly do their part to tilt the balance toward nature, knowing their efforts will be tiny compared to the countless people who are caught up in materialism and greed. Okay, I mean, they understand that, but they just do their thing. Remember, small steps, all right, small steps. Okay, so, but you have to be persistent and consistent. Okay, so although your efforts may be tiny compared to the rest of the world, but in your own world, that's being the ruler of your own world, it would be everything or a world of difference. But for yourself, it makes a world of difference. Okay, so that's why you still have to do it. Okay, so that's why, how you can achieve things, right? So even though it may be tiny, okay, compared to the rest of the world, to the countless humans, but for your own self, it's a significant portion. Okay, so on the internal level, our Buddha nature is intrinsically or innately changeless, constant, pure, unstained, unperturbed, self-sufficient, and non-attached. So it is its natural self. That is, it has no contrivance, intentions, no contrivance, no intentions, no agendas or motive. So we have to, get to that state of Wu Wei. All right. Okay. So the deeper understanding on the external level is what sages learn and ordinary people learn are not the same. Okay, so that's why sages unlearn, right? Learn to unlearn, right? Whereas ordinary people focus on learning to make a living, right? Earning money, right? Whereas sages focus on learning about Tao virtues such as morality, ethics, benevolence, and righteousness. That's not to say, ordinary people don't learn about it, but that's not the focus. Okay, all right. Sages do not fault others by not contending or preaching to them. That's why sages don't interfere, don't meddle, they don't fault others. Okay, they don't contend, they don't try to compete against them or preach to them. Sages complement nature, or you can say assist or supplement nature by being content and not competing with others, right? So that's the reflection of nature. Sages assist in the natural development of all things by following the Tao. They are in accordance with Tao, they're congruent to the Tao. Sages act without any contrivance, intention, or agenda, right? That's without any selfish desires or motives, right? So that's unlike ordinary humans, okay? Now the higher understanding, so that's the external side. The internal, let's look at the internal side. The internal side is that our Buddha nature, our internal sage or sage within, does not need to learn what ordinary people learn because it is already all-knowing or omniscient, okay? So our thoughts, that's the people, will be faultless and incur no karma. Our words and actions will reflect our conscience, our Buddha nature, which is also a reflection of the oneness of Tao. So all by not having a conditioned or attached mind in our thoughts, words, and actions. That's wu wei, okay, not attached, okay? So now we're getting closer contingent. Okay, so the implication is this. Let's see, this is all external. Okay, good. Sages understood what is of value is not dependent on material wealth, but dependent on the wealth of friendships that they created or the kindness that they gave to others. This is what ultimately brings happiness, not the material wealth. Okay, so sages do not fault people by contending or preaching to them. Sages supplement or assist the world by just being content without the need to compete for things. Sages do not dare to think, say, and act with any attached motives. Sages do not get involved or meddle in the frenzy of people's materialism and greed. Okay, they don't participate in that. Okay, we're at the conclusion now. So the key is this. So this chapter, okay, points out to us a key point. That is, although our non-involvement has only a small effect, right? That's in section 1, okay, on the overall overwhelming manifestation of greed, on the overall overwhelming, okay, our work can be insignificant to the world at large, but and still be huge in our own world because we're the ruler of our own world, okay, or of our own lives. So by deciding to have peace and order in our lives and starting early on the path of cultivation, we are moving with the Tao as much as having chaos is moving against the Tao. So this is for section 1, okay, from section 1, the virtue of the early and the small, okay? So, all right, section 1A and B, all right? Okay, so thus, this connects back to the first 2 lines of this chapter and return to the emphasis on the small, the peaceful, being early, and orderly. That's the non-chaos, okay, non-chaos. The consistent message here is non-interference or non-attachment. People can do whatever they want. They can live their lives however they choose. We let them be, or sages let them be, okay? So the important thing for us is to remind our own business, okay, is to mind our own business. That's the non-meddling. To live the best lives we can for ourselves and make sure we follow the Tao for our own benefit and not for anyone else's. We do not have to be like everyone else. We can be different, like the sages, be the exception and therefore exceptional. That is how we can achieve greatness, okay? There's no need to follow the herd, no need to do what everyone else does. We can complement nature or supplement nature by not becoming involved with the materialism of society, by doing our small part, being content, peaceful, and orderly, living our lives according to Tao. Thus, sages desire not to desire and learn to unlearn. It's the same as to act without action, manage without meddling, and taste without tasting. That's the first line of chapter 63, okay? All right. This is how sages redeem the faults of the people. This is how redeem, you can say save, okay? We can say save or mitigate, reduce the faults of the people. This is how sages assist in the natural development of all things by reflecting the oneness of nature and the Tao. This is achieved by not meddling, by non-conditioned actions. This is how sages supplement or assist things. Okay, this concludes chapter 64. There are things that I did not say correctly. I ask for Buddha's, Lao Tzu's forgiveness and everyone's guidance. Okay, thank you.